Greetings everybody. Myself Palkumar Pat. Let me tell you something. We are currently in a tournament which have some strange rules. Okay, let's just know that. See, after the starting of the tournament, some teams play and move to the forward rounds. Some gets eliminated after failing in the rounds, and if we are having even number of teams in a round, then half of them will play and half of them will be advanced. Okay, if we have odd number of teams, then only and only half of them will play and one team will be there which will be randomly get advanced to the next round. Welcome to the LeetCode problem solving series. Today we are going to solve the same exact problem which feels some strange at the start but have a much hidden technique to solve. Okay, we are going to solve 1688 count of matches in the tournament. Okay, so we will start by understanding the problem properly. Then we will move to the brute force approach, and then we'll move to the hidden technique to solve the problem at the end. So let's just start by understanding what our problem is trying to say. So as I mentioned, we are having a tournament, okay, which have the rules, simple rules, that if we have the number of teams which are even in any starting round of the tournament, then half of them will win and move to the next round, and other half will just leave the tournament at that round. But if we have odd number of teams at any round, then half of them, like after decreasing one, half of them will just play and move forward and half of them will leave. But that one which we decreased, that random team will also advance to the next round, just randomly, because the total count is odd. This is a rule in the tournament. Okay, and also we don't need to return the winner of the tournament. We need to return the total number of matches which are played from the start to the end of the tournament. This is our complete problem. Okay, so let's just now move to the brute force approach to solve this problem. So for solving the problem in a brute force way, let's just think how we can just get into because we just have a single input, okay, in the form of integer, which is the total number of teams that we are having. Okay, so what we can do is, first of all, we will obviously need a count named variable to return the total number of matches at the end of the code. Okay, because that will be using to count the number of matches played. Okay, so we have the total number of teams that are playing in the tournament. Okay, we will just use that to count, like to let's just simulate it as we are having rounds. Okay, so for that we will use a while loop. Okay, now inside the while loop, what we'll just do is that obviously we have a decreasing number of teams. Okay, let's just say that we have 3 teams. Okay, then what will happen after let's simulate if we start a round. Okay, we will start a round in the form of a while loop. Okay, now while loop's first iteration, the first round will start. Now 3 teams which are playing in the tournament, from these 3 teams only 2 teams will be advanced to the next round according to the rules. Okay, so what we'll do is that after the first iteration, inside that iteration we will increase the count of number of matches played by 2. Okay, because we need to return that count at the end. So what, as I mentioned, we will just use the while loop, and inside that while loop we will just use the condition that while the number of teams is greater than 0, continue the iteration, because at the end we will have we can say a single team only. Okay, so I think here it should be 1. Okay, because we will never be having 0 teams at any point of the program. We will have a single team remaining at the last end of the program, which will be the winner. Okay, so till we have a single team as the winner, what we'll do is, if we have even number of teams, okay, then the thing is simple. We just increase the count, okay, by half the number of teams, because let's say we have 4 teams. Okay, so 2 matches will be played between two teams, so the count of matches will be half the number of total number of teams if it is even. Okay, if it's not even, then our thing is that okay, I just forgot one thing. After counting the number of matches, we also need to decrease the total number of teams too. So we will decrease it by half again. Okay, because after first round, which have 4 teams, after playing 2 matches, two teams will be eliminated and two will be the winner. So we'll just decrease the number of teams from 4 to 2. A simple task. Okay, so this will be happening only and only if the total number of teams are even. If it's odd, then what we'll do is we will first decrease the number of teams by 1. As I mentioned, there will be a random team which will be advancing to the round without doing anything. So for not counting that team in our code, we will just decrease the total number of count by 1. If the total number of teams is odd, then after decreasing that, we will have an even number because it's odd. Then for example 7, so 7 minus 1, which will be 6. So now we have an even number which we'll be using to count the number of matches. So for 6 teams, we will have 3 matches. So n minus 1 by 2. Done for odd number of teams too. Okay, and again, for handling the count of teams, again, we will have n minus 1, the random team advancing to the next round, by 2. Okay, plus we will have that random team too. We need to count that team too. So again, after decreasing that and dividing it by 2, getting the teams which are the winner in the current round, we will also add that random team which advanced to the next round for no reason. We'll add that at the end, which I have did here by plus increasing it the number of teams by 1. So as you know, all the processes that we need to do for all the conditions, we only have 2 conditions, even number of teams and odd number of teams. For even, we will do this simple thing, the simple process, and for odd number of teams, we will do this simple process. If it's even, just increase the count by half the number of teams that we have, and decrease the number of teams also by half the number of teams. If we have odd teams, just decrease the count and number of teams by 1 because of that random team advancing to the next round. And then again repeat that same process that we were doing for the even number of teams. Simple and sorted. Perfect. After the completion of this while loop, we will just return our count that we have. Done. Perfect. Let's just run the code. Okay, I hope you would understand. Okay, I forgot a plus here. Yeah, so really sorry for that. So this was the brute force approach. Let's just submit that too. Okay, this is the way how straightforward completely solve this problem. As you can see, for this simple process of just counting the number of teams, we are having 3 milliseconds of runtime. Okay, just we can't like see the memory because we are using a completely single variable for doing this simple process of counting the number of matches. We are using a completely one variable for doing this thing, so it will obviously not beat much of the memory complexity. So and time complexity is also low because of the while loop that we are using. Okay, so you can see we obviously have an optimized solution. This brute force can't work properly because our task is just simple. We need to count the number of teams. For that, we are doing this much long process of checking conditions and then processing it much further by using a while. This can't work. Okay, so let's just now move to the optimal solution for solving this problem, which is the technique. As I mentioned at the start of the video, the technique to solve this problem. Okay, now many of you while solving this problem must have identified, must have noticed that the input that we are getting, okay, the output that we are getting is just one low. Like the input number that we are getting, you can see the input we have 7, then the output is 6. It is just decreased by 1. In the next test case 2, you can see that for the input 14, it's just decreased by 1, which is 13. So this is the technique. Okay, now you would just think that obviously this is just an observation thing. You can check it mathematically too. Okay, this is like 5th or 6th standard problem that we have a number of teams playing in a tournament, half of them advance, and the exact problem that we are having. Someone would have, many of you, the viewers, would have just seen that in the lower standards too. Okay, this is we can say treated as algebraic problem in lower standards, in we can say higher secondary schooling. This is treated as algebraic problem, and for solving that, this same technique that I am mentioning is used, that we just do nothing and we just directly return the input given to us -1. Okay, this is an observation as well as a mathematical proof too, that we can do that. Let's check it. It should work. It will work on these test cases. We just need to check for the edge cases that we have internally for the LeetCode problem part. So yeah, it works perfectly. As you can see, the runtime increased from 65% to 100%, and the memory also got much better because we are literally using no variables, so no storage. Okay, so as you can see, this was a technique. Okay, this can't happen for other type of problem which are coming in this topics. Okay, like counting topics, but for this specific problem, this technique can work because of its nature, because the process that we are doing for solving this problem, it is much simpler and it is algebraic and mathematically correct. So this technique can work for this one. So this was the complete brute force as well as optimized solution for solving the problem 1688. So if you like the way I solve and explain the problem, you can like the video. Also, if you want more these type of tech and coding related content, you can subscribe to the channel. For getting the source code, both the source code to this problem, you can check the GitHub link, repo link that I have mentioned in the description of the video. Also, if you want to connect with me socially, then you can use my social connections link, also present in the description of the video. Thank you for staying till the end of the video. Thank you very much.